Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan and Flatzoid in G+. Very good to have you all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Hello. Hello, John.
And we're also joined by a few people in Discord as well. Welcome one and all.
Oh, there's lots of people in Discord
Hello
now.
from Discord.
Yeah,
Hold on, I'm just unmuting everybody now.
Saves me the bother while you're on the case.
Good morning.
Good morning, SX. Good to have you. I'll just give it a couple of seconds and then we'll do a bit of housekeeping. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Nope. Still flat South Africa.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Nope. Nothing whatsoever.
Of the Earth-based variety.
If you can come up with examples, they'll just get poo-pooed if they're not of the Earth-based variety, but there we go. Yes, indeed. Axial rotation of the Earth-based variety specifically, given the topic of the show. No? Anybody at all? Hey, Arwin.
What about, actually, not to derail it too much, but what about axial tilt? You know, we never see any axial tilt. With all the satellites up there, supposedly, they don't even bother faking, you know, the tilt over the year that allegedly causes the seasons.
Allegedly. Yeah, it's just coping with the mathematical problem. We don't live on a model. What is it, 66.6 degrees off horizontal, the tilt?
Yep, very interesting number.
What a crock of crap. We don't have an axis, as the one would say. What axis? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Just one more of the...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Essex.
No. Go ahead. Sorry, Nick.
I was just asking for scientific
I
evidence
don't
of
have-
gravity. Go on, space.
I don't have scientific proof of gravity, but I have proof of Earth curve.
Ooh, this sounds good.
Ooh.
Okay. A lot of flat earthers use airplanes as proof of a level plane because they say that an airplane would have to dip its nose down to correct for curvature.
I feel a
But
straw man
that's
coming.
not-
Well done, Owen. Go ahead.
That's not what airplanes do, because when airplanes want to reduce altitude, they reduce airspeed in order to do that. They don't dip their nose down, because if you dip your nose down, you're gonna crash.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
You're correct.
I
said this incorrectly yesterday.
Can I
Adam,
say-
Adam subtly picked me up on it to the point where the audience didn't, which was very nice of him. You are correct. It would still have to account for drop, regardless of how it scrubs off the elevation. There's alleged to be a drop. Now, I don't care if that's nosing down, it's got to account for the drop, a descent in elevation. That's what it's got to do if it's going around a curved Earth. That's the bottom line. Nose up, nose down, who cares? It's got to descend.
Well, if the plane reduces its airspeed, it is going to descend.
And does that happen? Is it constantly reducing its airspeed to account for the drop around a sphere Earth? I think not.
I guess the real question is it flying at a constant speed, or is the speed changing?
What do you think? How many flights have you taken?
I mean, I can give you an answer because I've taken a sat nav on a plane. It worked. It gave you the speed, and it's constant, pretty much. I mean, yeah, there are variations upon taking off and landing.
Right. But okay, yeah, you did correct the point that planes don't nose down. That only happens in cartoons. But
Right.
in real life, planes reduce airspeed in order to decrease altitude.
Who
I haven't
cares?
seen any proof.
Who cares? It has to descend. At 500 miles an hour, it would have to descend 2,777 feet per minute. Does that happen?
No, absolutely not.
I don't know.
Then you don't live on a frigging sphere.
No, planes fly
Get
on a
it?
plane. You're right. They don't descend. They're flying level. They're on a plane.
There goes your evidence.
And again, we got pulled up by the pilot guy that was on the other day, and he's like, "You don't talk about gyros enough," and he's probably right. We don't. We hardly ever mention them, but the gyro would note that movement. It would register on the gyro, but it doesn't. They cage the gyros, the old-fashioned ones, at the start, and when they get to the other end, it's exactly the same as when they started. So it's not accounted for any deviation around a sphere, which it absolutely would.
Yeah, that's the weird part about the claim, is that not only is the plane automatically dropping to keep the altitude and pitch magically.
It's not.
No, but he's saying the claim is that not only is it magically rectifying itself through gravitational attraction, no doubt, everything's gravity, right? But also the gyro, which is in its fixed reference, isn't moving. So what, that's also self-leveling, correcting in its fixed reference based on what gravity bullshit? It's just not doing any of those things. You're right, Quantum Eraser, but he's presenting their side in the ham-handed way that they present it, which is bloody awful, right?
You don't need an instrument.
Yeah, because
to figure
now
that out.
they're going further.
You don't need any instruments to figure it out. You just need to take a flight. That's all you need to do. Stop bringing up stupid points and move on.
Okay.
I thought it was reasonable. We don't often talk about gyros. You're right. It doesn't need an instrument. You've only got to fly to appreciate that you're not descending around a curved Earth, and you'd absolutely have to at quite a fast rate based on the flight speeds. So yeah, you'd notice it if you were descending to lower the altitude rather than nosing down. Fair point, Babs. You'd still notice it.
Yeah, just that the really weird thing is how they're able to alter the pitch so perfectly, where this is some new, tool of new function of gravity.
Something
It doesn't.
weird's going on
Gravity
in
doesn't
Discord
exist.
right now. I can't.
Which
I can't
gravity
hear
are you talking
anybody.
about? Which gravity are you talking about?
They're saying they're struggling to hear, so it might be that there's some audio settings wrong with Discord. I'll just have a quick check. That doesn't hopefully kill the conversation completely.
Oh, it won't.
Hello.
No, it's all set up correctly in
was on
Discord.
there.
It all seems fine. I don't know if it's a problem your end, Babs.
I've been on many flights. I've heard the pilots say over the speakers our level of flight, and I've heard them say the miles per hour. But I've never heard them say, oh, this minute I'm going down 2,775 feet. In another minute, I'll be going down to adjust for the Earth's curve. I've never heard that.
I remember a story with the SR-71. I was stationed at Loring Air Force Base, and I remember the SR-71, I think, was going to land at Loring, and they were, I think, over New York, calling for clearance to land. If you think about that, they were in New York, landing in Maine, calling for clearance to land. I wonder how much descent he had to go through and throttle back to keep himself from flying out into space.
Mm.
Just because it's so cool, I'm going to put a picture of it up for the audience. Just because it's so mega cool. It does actually look like a spaceship.
Yeah, I forget what I think the declassified speed was like Mach 5, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. John might know better than me, but it was pretty darn fast. And I remember the tankers, I remember this saying, the SR-71 was idle. They have to virtually go to idle to refuel, which means they're about to fall out of the sky. And the tanker, they've got it going at full throttle. They have to do this, just to be able to refuel the SR-71 in flight. That's pretty crazy.
Well, I was just on the private plane several weeks ago, going from Southern California to Northern California, 45-minute flight. I'm sitting in the back looking at the instruments. Autopilot, 23,000 feet, locked on, going there, 22,000 feet, locked on, coming back. Not one deviation of altitude whatsoever. Asked the pilot if he did anything. He said no. And I watched it, and I'm in a small plane where I could totally see and gauge everything. Hope that helps, Babs.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
I was having some issues in Discord, but I'm back right now. Yeah, that does answer some of my questions, but as far as whether planes are flying at a constant speed, has that question been answered or no?
Yeah, I just answered that. The speed was constant. It was on autopilot. Everything was constant.
Okay.
Do you have cruise control in your car?
No.
Okay, well, if you have a car with cruise control, it's the same thing, except it's in the air.
So that's your proof of airplanes maintaining constant speed in flight.
There's no way out of this argument. Pick another one. For crying out loud, a third grader can reconcile this in less than a plank time.
The proof is I was on the plane.
What color are the latrines in the plane? It's about as relevant as what you're saying.
They don't use
think it's
latrines.
Oh, sorry. I don't think it's. I think a younger one than a third grader can figure it out. You know what a push bike is for children?
Yes.
So, have you noticed how children just when there's a steep, what's a word?
Incline.
When the road gets too steep, and they know that there are no brakes on these bikes, right? So they just push on them. But they have no way of stopping them. And I've seen very, very small children, if they see something that is too steep, they stop because they know that they can't roll down that hill because it's gonna be too much. They're not gonna be able to keep their balance, and they're not even in the third grade yet.
And
That bike's not going to be rolling forever. And I'm not sure why you had to use ad homs to make your point.
My point is
I
that
just have-
a normal functioning human body has an internal sense of balance, and I'm pretty sure that if there is a descent rate, I mean, you can feel it in your gut.
You do not feel turbulence when you're on a plane?
Oh, absolutely.
Turbulence is what is that? That's like random shakes. Is that what you mean?
What is
Yeah,
your
but it
point?
feels like you're.
What is
my
your
point?
point?
Is that
Since we have turbulence,
What is
the
my point?
heliocentric spinning ball space monkey religion exists? What is your point?
My point. No. My point is that
No.
in order for a plane to reduce altitude, it needs to decrease its airspeed. That's my point.
What?
And
One made the point that how people were describing that planes. Point that I was trying to make.
Okay, shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. It says, street activism is destroying the globe zombie animal. Thanks for the super chat, Earth is Seriously Flat. Really appreciate your support.
Can
The
you
thing
get
is,
his claim? Can you get his claim like succinctly,
is
Nathan, by chance?
Okay, his claim is
somehow.
that planes don't need to nose down. They can just reduce airspeed to descend.
Yeah. Okay. Does that happen?
Yeah, and I haven't got.
So the
Does
question
it happen?
the follow-up question is, does that happen in level flight? I've kind of led you a little bit with that description, but does that happen?
I would say that I don't know whether it happens or not.
Have you ever taken
I
a
don't
flight
know.
before, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay, let's say, have you ever taken a flight over an hour?
Yeah, way over an hour.
Okay, so work out the math. We'll just do it for 1 hour at 500 miles an hour. The plane would have to descend on average 2,777 feet on that hour trip per minute. Does that happen?
No, that does not happen.
Prosecution rests.
Excellent. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
The plane stays nose up during the entire flight, correct?
Yeah, it has a slight angle of attack so that it can have more lift, but that's kind of where we started with this. That isn't really the argument. Nose up, nose down, it doesn't matter. It's the descent that would be necessitated by a sphere Earth that's the problem for them, not necessarily the angle of attack of the aircraft itself.
Doesn't matter how it does it. It could be barrel rolls, right? You still have to descend.
What's stopping it from going counterclockwise in relation to the Earth?
What the world?
What do you mean counterclockwise?
Because if they never actually nose down and they stay nose up, why wouldn't the plane at some point go counterclockwise? Because they're not turning it with relation to the Earth. They're never nose down.
When you say counterclockwise, do you mean ascend off into space? What they allege the sky is? Is that what you mean by counterclockwise?
They say, well, gravity holds it to the Earth, so even still, why wouldn't it be going counterclockwise? If gravity
Does this have anything to do with the argument?
I don't.
What does this have anything to do with the argument? What are you talking about counterclockwise?
If you think
we're talking about
the
descent
in the plane,
oh
the fact
my
that it
God.
doesn't have to, it's descending, right? But it's still nose up.
It's not descending. That's the point.
Stop.
I think I know what he's saying.
It's okay.
I know
Let me just correct him. I know Quantum Erase has just done it. I
just
want to reiterate it.
Picture.
Just 1 second. It's about the descent that would be necessitated if we were on a sphere but we do not experience. So no, it's not descending. That's the point. That's why we've had an analogy with a child on a bike going down a steep hill. Because you know about it when it happens, if it happens, but it doesn't. That's the point. Go ahead, Paul.
I think he might be talking about like the gyro, if it's rigid in space and he's following the gyro and it doesn't pitch over, that literally in a way the plane would roll, that it would be observantly rolling up. Like, I think that's what he's trying to say, because the gyroscope would.
That's what
he's
I'm
using that as
saying.
horizon.
So I'm trying to illustrate that for their example. That's all.
Okay, now that Paul's clarified it, do you want to make your point again then? Because I didn't catch it and Paul did. So do you want to reiterate it? Just the clockwise and anti-clockwise. It's just bad phraseology. Sorry.
I was just trying to paint the picture because it's not like it's pitching forward, so it's pitching backwards. So if you're looking at it the way they do everything in an orthographic view, you would picture that. That's what I'm saying.
I understand. Okay, just want to do a quick shout out to Critical Inception. He says, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. We are reducing airspeed to get over Earth's curve." End quote. Said no pilot ever. Thanks for the super chat, Critical Inception.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. So, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No. No.
Can't we just stop right there with the flight?
I was trying. That was the purpose of me asking for the distance to the sun.
Yeah, we could just stop right there and no need to ask any more questions. Everyone can go home. It's over right there.
But apparently, according to, I'm going to say like 95% of the Western world, I have no idea. Apparently, I think Vic Reeves once said that 42.7% of all statistics are made up on the spot. Nevertheless, 95% of the Western population thinks we're on a sphere, and as such, the Earth turns and the sun goes behind a reified edge of their sphere that they've got a belief in. So the sun, pretty critical, I would say. The alleged distance being part of that little puzzle piece. No? No Earth curve, no globe,
Right.
You're right, I can't lie.
Yeah, bouncing radio waves off Venus. I think Ranty or Sleeping Warrior covered that, but QE, have you heard of that? The bouncing radio waves of Venus?
From Earth, you're saying?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Seriously?
one of their claims.
All the way from Earth.
Jodrell Bank, yes. Anthony's covered this several times. You've been here, Arwin. You know about this.
Radio bounces, hey? More radio bounces. Where's the retard toady?
Right.
Unbelievable.
I already thought it was pretty remarkable with the claim from the moon, but actually to reach all the way from the Earth's surface to supposedly how far away Venus is going to be, it's got to be one hell of a signal.
I don't think they've ever heard of the inverse square law myself personally, but that's just
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my point as well. Like with the moon, I could
What are these
sort of
radio
imagine
waves
it, but
traveling
Venus?
through?
Not even with the moon.
I remember,
At
I
their
can imagine it.
at its alleged distance, I might add.
I remember Globebusters working it out for the amplification required, into the hundreds of terawatts, because of the inverse square law. It just got ludicrously powerful, the amount that you'd need to bounce something those distances. Just ridiculous. Beyond all comprehension.
Nathan, you're a box
Don't they just
supervisor.
need
Be
to go to
careful.
the
You're
ham
going to be
radio?
on. You're going to be on John's triple secret crap list.
Crap list. Which John are we talking about, first of all?
Not a crap list. Get it right.
QE.
That's
Hold on,
not a
what have I
crap
said?
list. Title it correctly.
What did I say? Hold on.
You're not on any list anyway. Get the list right, though.
I couldn't remember. I can't remember exactly what you said, John. So you
It's
can
double
repeat it.
secret probation.
Double secret probation.
Oh, double secret probation. Oh, I'm well past probation.
What?
I get away with cheek. Insubordination, I get away with.
You're not on any list, Nathan. He's just projecting.
Did you hear that, Paul? Just projecting.
Exactly, but the inverse square law applies, so it doesn't come back as much as I send out.
But I was told just to go to the ham radio club and that they would demonstrate it to me.
Yeah, they can do it with a 30-watt amplifier, no bother.
Right. I just don't know why I have to do it to provide proof for their claim. I'm just being open-minded about it.
Exactly.
Hold on, I don't see that as unreasonable. Get your ass down to your ham radio shop, buy yourself a little 30-watt amplifier and go and do this to prove their claim. What's unreasonable about that?
But I need that money for food.
No, you should be spending it on proving their claim that they've given as a baseless assertion. What's wrong with this? See? Nobody's objecting. I see. Everyone agrees with me. Get your ass down that ham radio shop.
But it's raining.
Yeah, well, you could use a diet. You're getting a little fat too, so don't worry about food.
Why do you think they call it ham radio?
Oh, God.
Maybe we should just call it ham radio.
Oh, the tables, they've turned slightly. Things are askew. Arwin's getting the tumbleweeds, and 10th man's getting the laughs. Something's very wrong here.
I'm getting the tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Freaky Friday.
I agree.
Freaky Friday.
I usually leave my good jokes for the chats in other hangouts.
Okay, Legolas. As profound as you are funny.
The 10th man's power level is increasing.
I was thinking the flat Earth is turning the world upside down. Oh, that can only happen on a sphere. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. Anthony, can you tell us about Jodrell Bank?
Oh, yes, no problem. Jodrell Bank was built in around about 1960, well, it was earlier than that, but it came into operation in about 1960, 1961, just before the Apollo space missions. And they were charged primarily with getting a ping bounce off Venus. And what they were trying to do was send out a radio pulse, get it to bounce off Venus and get it to receive. And that's obviously why it's so big, because the what they claim is the degradation of the signal loses its strength over distance, right? But they claim it's going to take 6 minutes for the ping to bounce off Venus and then get back to the radio telescope. And what they've got to try and do is interpret the signal that they receive and contrast it with the background noise. But the problem is the background noise is a lot louder than the ping that they receive back. So basically, none of them could agree with what they were interpreting or seeing as was supposed to be a ping. And they based it all based on 6 minutes, right? Now, if you look into the story, the distance to Venus and the distance to the sun is all calculation, and it's based on two primary assumptions. There's the first assumption from Christine Huygens, who you can find this on one of NASA's citations, who made an assumption that is both ingenious and worthy of more promotion. That was Venus was the same size as Earth. But that assumption was based on Earth being a sphere, applying the principles from Eratosthenes that said that if he calculates the circumference to be a sphere, then if we assume Venus is the same size as Earth and assume that the circumference of Earth being a ball, then it should take 6 minutes for the ping to be bounced back to the radio telescope in Jodrell Bank. Trouble is, when they were looking at the 6 minute mark for this ping data, they couldn't find it. They couldn't agree on it. But when it was sent over to a bloke called Bob in JPL, Jet Propulsion's laboratory over in America, Bob basically looked at it and goes, yep, that's where the ping is. And then all of a sudden there was a scientific consensus in Jodrell Bank, and then everybody was happy to basically pin it on Bob because nobody else wanted it pinning on them.
Oh my God. So are you saying that Bob also proved the distance?
No, not that Bob. Not that Bob.
I know.
A different Bob. But so the point is that if you assume that Venus is the same size as Earth and then assume that Earth is a sphere, that puts the ping reflection to be at 6 minutes. Well, what if you don't assume that the Earth's a sphere and don't assume that Venus is the same size as it and just assume that it's a light and you may or may not get a ping back at all? And if you do get a ping back, go and find where it is at the timestamp, regardless of where it is. Because if you find the ping, then you may well find that Venus is much closer and much smaller than what we're told, the way it looks. But they said it's 6 minutes away based on the assumption that Earth's a sphere and the assumption that Venus is the same size as it. Well, if you're looking at 6 minutes and you can't see the ping, then either there's no ping there, or maybe you're looking at the wrong timestamp, because this thing that you're pinging a light off, a radar bounce off, may not even be physical, and there may not even be a bounce, and you're just pissing in the wind with what you think's a ping. And
You
it's
got
not
more
actually
than
a ping.
two assumptions. You got more than two assumptions with that. You got about 35 assumptions. And they're all
I don't know. I
train
think
wreck
that Bob guy
contradictions.
sounds really trustworthy, though.
Yeah.
Not really, though. Jet Propulsion Labs and all.
So, can I just plug something, Nathan?
One second, I don't see any of that in Wikipedia. Nothing. There's one thing about Venus, and that's the level telescope. And it was
No
about
problem.
transits.
I can present it for you.
Chris,
just
I
for you,
posted the
Chris.
links. Chris, I posted the links in the chat above. Before launching probes to Venus, NASA had to figure out exactly where it was. The uncertainties of early space navigation led a young JPL engineer to launch the field of radar astronomy.
Right, but that wasn't the first thing that John.
What did you
Cool,
say?
if you have links, yeah, post it in. I'm still new to the subject.
I think Chris said that wasn't the first thing he found on the top of search of a Google.
Oh yeah, should have learned that mistake from Anthony's, if you recall, gaff.
What gaff? Sorry,
Yeah.
Foucault. Yeah, he made a gaff in that regard. That's what
Yeah,
happens
but
when you do.
let's not forget that we all learned that there were two Foucaults in the same city at the same time, right?
We
As a
also
result of
learned.
that, so we all learned
it's,
something.
No.
It's probably best not to do research when you're shit-faced, right, Anthony?
I was on the way back up though. I'd finished being drunk.
Yeah, that was the excuse you used, but you sounded perfectly lucid to me.
Yeah, it was like
Who
1 in the morning,
cares?
though, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Who cares? Everyone
Who
makes mistakes.
cares?
Anthony made a mistake. Are you saying that since Anthony made a mistake, then the heliocentric spinning ball space monkey religion exists? Is that what you're saying?
Is that what I'm saying?
A
No,
mistake
that's
is
not what
only
I'm
bad
saying,
if you don't
John.
correct it.
Let me ask a quick question. To make sure I understand clear this up a little bit. What typically frequency? What is radar typically? Is that microwave? Is that
Yeah,
right?
it's light. It's part of the light spectrum, isn't it?
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, is it more specific in the spectrum or closer to microwave? Does anybody know?
Who knows? Who cares? Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Well, the reason I'm asking that question, there's this thing called the microwave background radiation. Wouldn't that interfere with anything that's being shot out?
Yeah.
And refraction and gravitational lensing, all the things
Oh
that
my God.
all the things that they criticize us for observations at the horizon would affect the ping data.
Is my mic working?
Yes,
it is.
yes,
but
we
I'm not-
can hear you, but it's just too much fun to interrupt you.
No need to poke the bear. Right, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to Retro Bill though. So shout out for the super chat. Retro Bill says, "Don't be surprised if ballers begin claiming that the airliner Concorde's nose pointed down to correct for curvature." All right, I don't think so, but yes, thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill. Really appreciate your support.
Yeah, let's talk about the CMB. Before I run that video that I did on, it would probably be beneficial to go to Cathexis's channel and see where I just thrashed that CMB into the incoherent oblivion. But I'm going to run that show on my channel. Might run it soon.
Just for the uninitiated, cosmic microwave, what is? I've forgotten the bloody acronym now.
Cosmic microwave background.
Cosmic
Correct,
background
cosmic microwave background radiation.
CBR, right?
CMB.
CMB, okay.
Nathan, do me a favor. Present me for 1 minute.
I have. You are.
Right, so Chris said he couldn't find it, right? I can't ping this because it won't share it, but I'll read what it says. This is a NASA's page, right? Of the 5 runs that were made, only 4 of the digital recordings had few enough tape blemishes that they could be easily edited and run through the computer. 2 of the 4 runs, 1 from each day, showed no evidence of radar returns. The others had 1 peak each. Price recalled, "When we saw the peaks, we felt very blessed. It was not absolutely clear, however, the 2 peaks that the 2 peaks were really echoes." Green explained, We looked into our soul about whether we dared go public with this news. I mean, this is the crime, not manipulating the independent variable to prove the cause of the effect, right? They looked into their soul about whether we dared go public with this news. Bob, this is the JPL guy in America, Bob was the only guy who really stayed with it to the end. He had convinced himself that he had seen it, being the ping, and he had convinced me that he had seen it. Management asked us to have a consult to look at our results, and we did. Thomas Gold of Cornell University looked at the peaks and said, yes, I think you should publish this. Green and Price then published their findings in the 20th of March 1959 issue of Science, the Journal of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, 13 months after their observation in Feb 58. So basically, Bob convinced himself that he'd seen it, and then he convinced his mate, and they searched their soul about whether they dared go public with it. Rather than manipulate the independent variable, they searched their soul. What kind of nonsense is that? And that's supposed to be the ping data for Venus.
That sounds like it was divined.
Anthony?
Yeah?
Anthony,
It
when's
sounds
your
like-
paper getting published? In Nature.
They mathematically calculated it.
Can somebody tell me where the
They
science
soul
is in
searched
this?
it. They soul
Can
searched
somebody
it,
tell
and
me
they
where the
defined it.
science is in this?
Yeah, there is no
But
science.
let me just say it 3 times. Can somebody show the science in this?
Nope, there is none. They felt it in their soul, John.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Friggin' clowns.
That's
And you
Diviners
people
did.
believe these
Lungs out,
idiots.
John.
These pseudoscience priests.
Yeah, just
you baltards, you believe this, right?
Yeah, just to summarize, the institution, if you want to call it that is astrophysics, is pseudoscience. They're not doing science. They're searching their soul when they look at the sky.
Well, or you could
Clowns, yeah.
interpret it slightly from a different angle and say, yeah, they were searching their soul because they lost it as they put out the lie.
And if they were
I
doing
think they
it
call it.
collectively rather
I think
than
they call it radio.
objectively.
Oh, sorry.
I like.
Go ahead.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they call this radio astronomy, not astrophysics. But
Oh, my
I think
bad.
that's the whole deal that started around a little bit before the 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
I should have been more general. Astronomy is pseudoscience.
With radio wave. Yeah.
With anything. They're not manipulating independent variables to establish cause and effect. You could argue they have the first step in the scientific method, observe phenomena. That's it. Beyond that, they have to search their soul.
I just thought of what this was like.
Evidently, yes.
They're shooting a light in the sky amongst other lights in the sky to get a return ping of a light in the sky. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, and then they're looking at it based on the timings that they would expect if Earth is a sphere with a presupposed radius and Venus is the same size as Earth, and then they apply, is it Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to get the exact distances, and then when
No,
they
ratio.
fire... Say
That
again?
gets them the ratio.
That gives them the ratios, correct, so that they can calculate it based on these sizes they've presupposed. So with all of those ingredients, they can then say, we would expect it to come back in X amount of time. So at that time, they look at the data that's supposed to be the return data and say, can we see a peak? And they have to search their souls when they see the little bit of fuzz, and one of the guys from JPL says, yeah, that's definitely a peak. Right? That's what's happened. They've presupposed that Earth's a sphere, presupposed that Venus is a sphere, and it's the same size as Earth, got the mathematics for the distances based on transits, and then they've said that's how long it should take for this return signal to come back, so that's the timings that we'll look at.
That also
Yeah.
assumes that it would come back.
Yeah, what's it going through? What's the signal
Yeah.
going through?
Alleged vacuum.
Huh. Oh, it's over right there.
Yeah, the signal's going through a second law of thermodynamics violation. Their mathematics would include the fact that it's going through their second law of thermodynamics violation known as the sky vacuum, otherwise known as outer space, which isn't real, it's fake. So their measurements, regardless of their presupposition of Earth being a sphere, presupposition of Venus being a sphere the same size as Earth, are all for nothing because they're taking this measurement through a medium that doesn't exist.
That's it.
Searching
Next
our
subject.
souls. Yeah, next subject. Can I plug my next show, Nathan? I've got a premiere.
Yeah, go
coming
ahead,
up
and
at
then I'll
3
ask for gas pressure. Go ahead.
3 o'clock, Nathan's finishing this show, right? Rather than go straight over to Jose's, because I know he starts generally after Nathan, just come and watch this next hangout, this next premiere of mine. It's really good. It addresses Miles Delia Davis and how Trish incidentally or unintentionally debunks Miles Delia Davis. It demonstrates how Jen Panda is in beyond his depth, and it demonstrates that Trish Blythe's not a barrister. And you know, it's really good. So come and join me because I'm going to be in chat and I'm going to be rallying on the troops.
Glass houses should not throw stones.
4:30, actually, Anthony. The shows.
Say that again, Nathan. 4:30.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a second one on, have you, today?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday. I do 2 on the second channel. So yeah.
Oh, balls. Right. Well, what I'll do is I'll change the time of it now, then, so it's an hour later. Why 4:30 and not 4?
Because this show will end at 3, and then there'll be a little bit of faff and after show, and then a little bit of faff and pre-show while I set up the second show, and then normally the second show starts at 3:30 on a Friday on the second channel, which is where we're live now, and then that will finish an hour later at 4:30.
Okay, so it'll be starting at 4:30, then not 3.
Ooh,
Change
you
that
can
now.
spam the link on the end of the in the live chat.
Okay, I won't be able to.
Are you a mod? Say something in the second channel. I'll make you a mod so you can spam me a link.
Oh, thanks. Only took you like 3 years.
Never asked.
Okay.
So, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container, given that we've just made it overtly obvious that you can't?
I'll be a Glover. We've got differential pressure. Come on now. That's how we know. It's differential pressure.
No gas pressure.
Gas pressure.
Can't have delta X before you have X.
Right. Where'd you get the gas in the first place? A gradiated version of gas pressure doesn't mean that you won't still need the antecedent of containment. Something that you would have after you've got containment, then gas pressure gradients. So you still have the same question to answer.
There's my comment in chat, Nathan.
Oh, yes.
No container needed for pressing and pressurizing.
That's a good robotic voice.
Hey, Chris.
Anthony, when?
Chris, can you have gas pressure without a container, Chris?
I pass. When are you getting your paper published?
I'm not really expecting it back before January. If I get it back before Christmas, I'll just be amending it and I'll fix typos and then it'll be just being resubmitted. But don't worry about it. It's not going to be for a while yet.
Wasn't the idea to get it published in Nature?
Yeah, there's a process it goes through. No, not in Nature. It's not a science paper. It's a legal paper. It'll be published.
It wouldn't matter anyway. They don't publish too many science papers in Nature either.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do, Chris. I'll submit it.
I'm sure I heard your intent was to get it published in Nature. I mean, where did I get that from?
I don't know. Provide you citation evidence to support your assertion.
It's called rumors. There's a lot of them.
Can you guys just let Chris and Anthony talk? Guys, I just want to say, though, before you and Anthony kick back off, Chris, I picked up on that comment, QE. Very funny.
Pass.
No, you said there's not much published in Nature that's scientific anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Less than 1% of all alleged scientific studies follow the scientific method. Less than 1% published in your journals follow the scientific method. So let me ask you a question. How can it be science then?
You should do something about that immediately, John. I think you should take over.
Yeah, I've done it.
Review processes.
I've done it. I've called these people. I've emailed these people and told them they're frauds. But it just doesn't matter. They just keep on posting them.
Rip their lungs out.
So let's
I
ask,
would if I could, sir.
Let's ask Chris some of the housekeeping points because we've not heard Chris for a while. So no comment for the gas. Oh, come on, Chris. You believe that we live on a ball. Let's see you support it. Any evidence of...
I'm not going to do that.
Come on, Nathan. Ask him some of the housekeeping.
Well, we've gone through most of them. What about... I don't mind. This one gets silenced anyway normally, so feel free to offer the usual. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Chris.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
He said pass.
Pass.
I thought he said pardon. Oh, okay.
No, pass. He said pass.
Okay, well let's keep it a bit more simple. That's quite a lot. So, what about just the presupposition itself? Any evidence of the R value?
Pass.
Pass.
Oh, Chris. You believe we live on a sphere, don't you?
You pass a whole.
Chris, what's
Pass.
gravity?
You never seen Mastermind?
Pass.
What's gravity, Chris? Come on.
Mastermind, when they are asked a question and they don't know the answer, they go
Dun,
pass.
dun, 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 dun. And tonight we
that
have
it?
Chris.
Anything?
His specialist
Who
subject
said
is sphere
you're not
Earth.
delightful?
Question 1. Is there any evidence of Earth curvature?
Pass.
Dun, dun.
Pass.
That's a pass.
Chris, how is it we've got a pressure gradient if we haven't got some kind of membrane?
Pass.
If I said Himawari, would that wake you up?
No, it wouldn't.
No membrane
You
needed.
don't argue Himawari.
Anthony's paper, not pass, fail.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question?
That was the original
Yeah.
subject. Oh, I hate to do this to you, Paul. That was what I actually wanted them to discuss. I know Anthony's gone straight on to ball, but I was hoping they'd have that conversation, and Chris has just alluded to wanting that conversation now. So unless Anthony's not willing, then can you just make way for Anthony and Chris just for a minute?
Yeah, I can wait. Yeah, I can wait. Go ahead.
So, Chris, would you agree with me if I suggested that the teaching of the Copernican model is promoted, partisan, and political, and should be banned?
I have no opinion one way or the other.
There you go,
That's
Nathan.
what
That
his
was a quick one.
paper's about.
So then, why do you keep bringing
Yeah,
up
no,
paper?
but I mean, I just wondered about it
What's
getting
wrong with
published
you,
in
Chris?
Nature. I look, man, I am 99%. In fact, I'd bet £1,000 that you said you were going to get your paper published in Nature.
Nature.
Oh god!
Why would I say nature?
Let's go back to
Come
Jim
on, Chris,
Panda's
this is-
retard server.
That's I know,
Just go
but
back
you know
there.
exactly why would you say Nature? Because it's a science
didn't.
journal. It's not a legal
Chris,
journal.
hold on.
Exactly. That's why.
Chris, I'll
Everything.
accept your challenge of £1,000.
No. Hold on.
Provide the
Chris,
citation.
hold on. This is
And if
stupid. I just want to put a stop to
if I
this.
lose,
Chris,
you know,
nature's...
Mark will pay my debt because you owe my grand. So you know what?
Just go and get the citation where I
Just
said
wrong.
nature. I definitely
It's a
didn't say
legal
nature.
paper. It would never make it to Nature. This is absurd, Chris. I'm sorry.
I know that. I would have to troll through all the previous.
No.
So
It'll
what's
be in
your
the
nature
Gulf
review?
Stream,
Definitely
Nathan.
mentioned.
Hey, who
I'm
cares?
not.
Scrolling, Chris.
Nature was
What's-
definitely mentioned. I mean, look,
Who
am I the only
cares?
one here? Am I-
Who cares?
It wasn't.
Who cares? Have you got anything pertinent to ask?
No.
Dun-dun. Well, thank you for taking part on Mastermind. That was a sum total of 12 passes, no correct answers.
Can you provide the correct answers then? Because they do that right in Mastermind. If you pass,
Sure. The correct answer
at the
to
end,
any
they give
evidence
you
of
the-
Earth curve was no, there is absolutely no evidence of Earth curve, only perspective claimed to be Earth curve. That was the first one. Axial rotation, absolutely no evidence of axial rotation, only fundamentalist zealots who argue against the claimed proof of Coriolis.
Oh, there's the old Nathan. I hear it coming back. Come on, more fuel.
I used to like weakest link though more. It'd be like, you didn't bring anything to the table. You're the weakest link. Bye bye.
I'd like to ask Chris my question.
You are the weakest link in the
Yes,
globe
indeed.
argument.
Go ahead, Paul, go ahead.
Guilty.
Hey, Chris, answer this. This is not a scientific question. It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth or anything like that. But do you know what blind faith is?
Didn't they have a number one hit with "Bay Them on Your Love" thing?
Okay, he won't answer it, so I can't go any further.
So pass.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Was I supposed to answer a question?
Oh God! Do you even know where you're at?
Question was, do you understand the term
I just didn't- yep.
blind faith? Do you know this term?
Do I understand what?
Blind faith. Go ahead, Paul.
Yes. What?
Can you define what blind faith is, please? Define it for me.
Can I define what blind faith is? Not off the top of my head, no.
What do you,
Oh
what
my
would you,
God!
What would you think it would mean? What do you think it would mean?
It means that
Flat
would mean,
Earth.
like, for example, believing in the Christian God without absolutely no evidence. What? I suppose.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's right. And it's usually, I'm glad you said that because that's actually one of the things I was going to say, is most of the time it's attributed to Christians, typically, that we have blind faith, right? Typically. But that's,
Yeah, but I mean,
that's
QE's
actually a fallacy.
scientifically.
It's false because we don't have blind faith. We have evidence for our belief. But I'm not going to go there. Would you agree or disagree that you have evidence for your spinning ball religion as QE was asking, or QE usually asks?
You're breaking up for me, man. Like I'm catching I'm missing like every four.
Okay, sorry. Might be me too. I'm stumbling a little bit. Do you have evidence for the spinning ball curvature that we're supposed to live on?
I've no opinion one way or the other.
So basically, are you talking from ignorance that you don't know there's evidence, or you don't believe there's evidence, or you don't know there's evidence?
I'm not going to go into that today.
Pass.
Okay, he's passing. So his original
Exactly.
his original thing was in play.
Chris, let me drag you
I'm
back
just
to this.
I'm also searching YouTube here for Anthony's Nature publishing thing.
Oh my
'cause, like,
God!
I'm
So
gonna
just
find
kick
it.
him.
And-
Just kick him out.
Don't kick him.
Okay, well, just read out the definition, because if you look it up in the legal dictionary, it just takes you to credulity. So there's no definition in the legal dictionary for blind faith. It just says credulity as a synonym. But then when you read the definition of credulity, it says credulity, noun, belief, blind faith, credulous, deceivability, disposition to believe, ease of belief, foolishness, gullibility, gullibleness, impressibility, innocence, lack of doubt, lack of dubiety, lack of dubiousness, lack of skepticism, and so it goes on.
I like that one though.
Who does that sound like?
I know. Sounds like somebody we know.
Yeah, new word. Lack of sophistication. Excellent word.
Nathan, do me a favour, just present my screen for me. In response to Chris's £1,000 challenge, I'd like to just present the audience. I know Chris can't see it because he's in the thingy, but Chris claims that he thinks that it was said it would be published in Nature. Well, this is the Hangout.
No, I said you said that you were going to get it published in. Jeremy did a video, and I can't remember which one it is, and unfortunately, it's not available at the moment. Where
so
he quoted.
Here's my evidence that I didn't say it. If you think that I did say it, I want you to produce
I've got it.
proof.
Fucking got it.
Published in Nature, it says, right?
You said that you were going to get.
So on screen right now, you can see that in the link from the Hangout dated 28th of September 2018 on this channel 1980, Flat Earth Debate 507, it says, I think that there's a valid case to put it through by peer review by our peers, by my peers, your Earth, by my peers, your Earth, Flat Earth, that might be, barristers or solicitors in practice, and hopefully get out the other side. It's clearly not saying the word nature, Chris. Hello.
Leave these stagnant pauses, but as you've said hello and ruined the moment. Retro Bill, massive shout out for the next super chat. Any info of the upcoming Ballbusters episode? Yeah, there's a Ballbusters going out on Saturday, 8 PM UK time, 2 PM Central Standard Time on the Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be sphere.
Yes, it's a heliocentric ball killer. Gas pressure.
I just one second. I'm just about to get my £1,000. Hold on, 1 second.
Oh, that's very kind of you to concede with cash.
Okay, so Anthony, you said something, and this is transcript, so it's
Third party.
In theory, I would then be able to get access to write papers, put them into journals, because I would be credited in law and it would be critically acclaimed. So I'll submit it to nature and see what nature say, but it won't be there. And then, like, it's transcript, so it's not completely accurate because it's not law. But they might run it, they might not. But I'll push it and see what happens.
Ooh.
Yeah. So what's the first 2 words?
Hold on, Anthony. Where was that, please, Chris?
I posted it in the Discord, and Betty's Discord.
I don't mean where you posted
There's
it. Where was it originally?
Timestamp.
Where was it originally?
Originally, I don't know. I'd have to ask Jeremy, but it's from Riley's.
You have to
Can
ask
I
Jeremy.
have my £1,000?
You have to
no,
ask
because-
Jeremy, right?
Hey,
Go
let
over
me
to Jeremy, and while you're asking him that, ask him where his birds humping natural experiment is.
So
Right,
let me
but it's
explain
not,
that for you.
Jeremy's
have
not
some of that.
quoting Riley. This is a clip of Riley saying,
Who cares?
No, play it.
"Well, I care because I want my £1,000."
No, play it, because the first 2 words are the important bit.
I
Or
can't
just
play it.
Birds humping.
Hold on. If you want to just quote it again, Chris, that'd be fine.
Okay. Okay. In theory, I would then be able to get access to write papers and put them into journals because I would be credited in law and it would be critically acclaimed. So I'll submit it to nature and see what nature say about it. But
Yeah.
because it's not law,
He said I would then write papers. So it's
Yeah.
contextualized with the future papers that he might write.
Yeah. And it's that.
no. It said,
Hold
it
on,
says- it
Chris.
said-
Chris, did you hear what I just said? He's contextualized it with future papers that he
goes on to
might
say,
write.
but then it goes
And
on
it
to
starts
say,
with the
I'll
preface of
submit
in theory.
it
Hold on,
to
Anthony.
nature.
Go on, Chris.
What would it be?
Yeah, go on, Chris. It goes on to say,
Right. It goes on to say, I'll submit it to nature and see what nature say.
yeah, I heard. He just contextualized it as papers that he would be writing going forward, not the paper that's being submitted. He made it really contextually obvious in the beginning part of the statement.
And the first 2 words.
Yeah. So
This is eclipse every month all over again.
Chris,
you know, I touch
so
plans
at this point,
at
Chris,
£1,000.
at this point, I was all up until you rereading the quote. I was all for saying you're screwed, Anthony. You've got to give him £1,000 now. You've committed to this, but it seems no, he wasn't wrong. Contextually, he's made it clear he's not talking about that paper. He's talking about future papers he might write. So, what, you're going to give him £1,000 like you just insisted? Ludicrous though this assertion is, either way, nobody's going to be giving anybody £1,000 here. Let's be honest. Smash the super chat.
Smash the super chat for £1,000. Give me it today.
Where have you put it, Chris? I want to see it.
I put it in the Discord.
Science
In the
versus
Discord, do you want to be a little bit more specific?
I
And
didn't even tell you the
Betty's
original source.
Discord.
It's not even his argument. It's Gem Panda's argument. He's just made that clear.
No,
Oh, if you
it's
want to know the
not.
source, you've got to go to Gem Panda.
His own mouth.
Jim Panda. What a
Yeah,
friggin' clown.
let me explain. Let me explain what that
Oh.
actually means, though, Chris. When it says in theory at the beginning, right, it means that if everything goes the way it should go, once it gets published in the legal papers, it can be then transcribed and resubmitted into the nature journals, but as a physics paper, as a physics paper, but with the legal aspect to it. But it's not saying that paper in that form would go into the nature journal, because it's not a physics paper, is it? It's a legal paper.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley channel, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!